Good morning, Center for Spiritual Living, Ocala. I am Reverend Cindy Grimes, and I'm so glad that you joined us this afternoon for today's broadcast. I don't have a guest today, it's just going to be me. But before I get started, I'll go ahead and do our welcome for anyone who may be with us that has not been with us before, so you can know what we are about, know our values, and what we stand for. At the Center for Spiritual Living, Ocala, we value spiritual growth and practice. That's the number one thing that we are about. We are also all about love. That's the unconditional love that accepts people we accept people from all walks of life, from every kind of background, and we just love and accept people the way they are. And we value appreciation. It's a year of thanks, or the time of Thanksgiving, and that's such an important part of our spiritual path and our practices is gratitude. We value community and we value freedom. We value creativity, health and wholeness, generosity, and financial well-being. And our mission is the same as the mission of the larger organization of Centers for Spiritual Living. We're just one of many. There are Centers for Spiritual Living all over the country and throughout Canada and the rest of the world. And our mission is to provide spiritual tools for personal and global transformation. Our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. And notice the word is awaken, meaning that we believe and know that that magnificence is there, and it's just a matter of us waking up to the truth of that. And our vision is a world that works for everyone, and that is what we endeavor to do. So I am going to invite our practitioner in. Well, let me get out of the sun here. Our practitioners, we got Norma there too, right?
We do. She's right here, but it's hard to get it
Yeah,
all the way around. She's next to me because we're in the car. She brought me up.
awesome.
Yeah.
So sweet. I just want to thank you, Donna, for your, Donna and Norma both, for your dedication to the center and the fact that you take your what little time you have for lunch and come and hang out with us and do our prayer and pray us in. So I just so
Yes, I
appreciate
love
that.
it. It's my most favorite thing to do, so I can't miss it.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I'm going to take myself out of the stream here and let you have at it.
Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Nurse Donna, and I am here to just connect to the allness with you. And so I invite you right now to just get centered in wherever you are. You could be in a car, you could be at home, you could be at school, you could be anywhere actually in today's environment. But wherever you are, I invite you now to just take this moment, few brief seconds, as long as you're safe and your physical form is safe, just relax and take a deep breath in and out. Just allowing yourself to drop back down into your physical form and just allow for that air to rush through your nostrils and down into your lungs and coming back out. The magic that is your human body. It is from this space of connection that I say that I recognize the allness that is around me. It is not just around me, but it's actually within my very being right now. God is everywhere present. There is no place in this entire universe that God is not residing. It is the up, the down, the in, the out. It is you, it is me, it is every person that has ever existed in time, ever shall exist in time. All of it is God expressing. And as I breathe into that knowingness, it is from that place that I say that the aspect of God that is prosperity, I recognize that. But I also recognize that every good thing that God is, so I am. And so are you. But as we talk about gratitude and thanksgiving today, this is the season for saying, yes, I am grateful for every wonderful thing in my life. I am grateful even for the challenges because without those challenges, I would not grow to be the very best me that I can be. Everything that comes across my plate, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it helps me to become more well rounded and helps me to unfold who I am in divine mind. So I'm grateful for all of it. I'm grateful for the knowingness of this teaching. I'm grateful for each and every person that is connecting right now using the sound of my voice. For every person in whatever church or modality they plan to be in, for every person that stands under a tree right now and that is their church, I'm grateful for every single person that shows up and connects to the one. Because together we are vibrating in the truth. And as we do that, then change happens. And the upward trajectory of the human race is assured. And so I release this. I release all my thoughts into the law, knowing that the law is working for the highest and best of every person here. And together we say, with one last wonderful, deep, cleansing breath, and so it is. We let it be, and so it is. I love you all.
Oh, I love you so much. That was so perfect. So
Oh,
perfect.
and Norma wants to say hi. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Norma. I see you wearing your shirt too.
Yes, we're
Love
spiritual. We're
it.
not religious.
Love
Hey.
it. Love it. I love you, ladies. You enjoy your lunch, Donna, and thank you again, both of you, for taking
Oh,
time out of your busy day to join us.
yes, and I'm going to be on with you as long as I can, okay?
Yes,
All
yes. Love
right,
you so much.
guys.
All right.
All
Have a great
right.
day.
Thank you.
Yes, my pleasure. All right. So, as I said, I don't have a guest today. It's just me, just me. And I did a workshop yesterday that was just so amazing. I knew that I was going to have some uh, good things to share with you today out of that experience. So, anyway, as I said, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit. We'll just have not a conversation, but maybe a conversation after this. Anyway, I want you to think about a few things, ask yourself a few questions. What if you really believed that life was conspiring on your behalf? What if you really believed that all the challenges and all the dramas and traumas and things that you went through were really for your benefit? What if you really knew that? What if you really knew that you came into this life with gifts and talents that were only yours to share, and that your job here was to share them? I don't know if that's true. I feel like it's true for myself. I can say that I know it for me. I don't know that I can know it for anybody else. But what if? Just consider that possibility for yourself. And I think it puts a whole different trajectory on the things that have happened to you and your life experience. So, as I said yesterday, I facilitated a workshop. It was the first session of 3 full days that we're going to spend together uh, on a curriculum that I have been working on for, it feels like, for years. It's the culmination of a lot of work and a lot of different experiences, and the work that I've been doing at Marion Correctional. And so I've put this curriculum together, and yesterday was day one. We did 4 sessions of the 12, and it was as miraculous yesterday as it has been every time I've done it at the prison. And it just reaffirms what I know to be mine to do. I know that I am here to be a healer of hearts and of relationships. And by that, I don't mean like a hands-on kind of a healer, or that there's anything that I do specifically that causes the healing, but that I am one who creates the space. I can facilitate the healing of hearts and of minds and of relationships, and helping people to find their way uh, back to wholeness and restoration. And it's such a beautiful thing. It's like it's miraculous when you see it. And I live for that. I live for those aha moments, those moments when you see like somebody got it and there's a shift in their heart and in their minds, and you know that there was a time before this moment, and there's what just happened, and there's every moment after that, and life is never the same. And so that's my gig, that's my thing. And I am just really super blessed that I get to do that, that I get to witness those kinds of changes and experiences and like right in front of me. So, so the curriculum is on social emotional learning and restorative practices, and also nonviolent communication. So I've pulled from all these different places. And the magic happens as we sit in circle. It's what I call circle magic. And it's every circle is different because everybody that sits in the circle is different, and they're at different times in their lives, and they're bringing different stories. And we come together in circle to share our stories. And that's part of what's so healing, is when you hear somebody say something, you know, that could have come out of your own mouth, and yet they are completely different than you. They may have had a completely different upbringing, may not look anything like you, and yet here is a truth coming out of someone else's mouth that could have come out of your own. And somehow it just accelerates the learning and the growth for everybody. And so that's what we did yesterday. And so I want to give you a little sense maybe of what a circle might be like, because it's really just about sharing our own stories. So I thought what I'd do today is share some of my challenges and some of the my gifts, maybe the idea of that I shared at the beginning, that what if everything that happens and everything in your life is really for your benefit and for the benefit of others. And so, you know, I'm going to share a few of my challenges and what I see as my gifts, and how those things all connect to bring me to the point where I am here and now. As Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them going backwards, looking backwards. And so I hope that by sharing and connecting some of my dots, that maybe you will think about the things in your life, your gifts, your talents, your passions, and how that bumps up against the circumstances in your life, so that you could find your purpose and why you're here and what you came here to do. So, so anyway, I'll start with, I'm going to share some pictures with you. Some you might have seen before, some not. So this is just kind of to give you a little bit of my background history. I was born in New York City. My parents came to the States from Puerto Rico. They were both born and raised there, or not totally, they came as children. And so the picture on the left is my dad's side of the family. My dad is one of 13 kids, and that's his mom is in the middle there. My grandfather is up on the top right. And then my mom, I don't have a picture of her as a child. There aren't too many of them. My mom uh, came from a family with just one sibling. It was just her and her brother, and my grandmother. And so, you know, my dad's side of the family was like really, you know, we somehow really like domineering is what I want to say. But they were a cross between the Corleone family, if you remember The Godfather, and the family in My Big Fat Greek Wedding. You know, it was somewhere in between there. It was interesting growing up in that family. Lots of colorful personalities, and there was lots of love. There was lots of love, but there was also lots of drama and trauma and some violence. And so it was a really interesting mix, as I said, really like those two seemingly very different family experiences. So this is me when I was a baby. And that picture there, 1968, on the beach visiting Puerto Rico when I was a little girl. And I was a little chunky thing. I was a chunky little thing. And so, you know, kids would make fun of me. I was a brown skinned girl, you know. One of my earliest experiences that I remember was going to the Little Miss America pageant, and I had practiced the song I was going to sing, and I was so excited. I had this whole thing all worked out for, when I got picked. And of course, I didn't get picked, and I was heartbroken that nobody wanted to hear my song, and they didn't think I was pretty enough to be on the stage. And that just kind of set the stage. And there were lots of other things that came after that that reinforced that idea that, that I just wasn't pretty enough or good enough or whatever. So anyway, one of my gifts, the thing that was in my favor, was that I was a smart kid. That's me in, I think, second grade probably. And I was an honor student. Like, I learned really easily. So I excelled at school, and I had a lot of different interests. I loved music, and I loved art and writing and anything creative. And that was kind of my thing. So, like, what's that phrase? You're a jack of all trades and master of none. I was kind of like that. Like, I could do a lot of things, but nothing like really super well. And then another really important part of my growing up was my grandma. That's my grandma, who passed away some years ago. My grandmother, this is my grandmother on my mother's side, and she suffered from mental illness. There was something that kind of set it off in her young adulthood. And she really didn't get to raise my mother and my uncle, because she was in and out of mental institutions and things for most of her adult life. So when I was growing up, my grandma lived with us, and it added to kind of the chaos of things. My grandmother was my unconditional love. I could do no wrong. The woman just loved me. And I can remember being really super bratty and telling her to shut up and saying awful things to her at probably the age of 3, and getting in trouble for it. And then realizing just kind of how vulnerable she was at a point. And so I just looked out for my grandma. But as I said, if anyone has ever grown up with mental illness in the home, you know that it causes all kinds of chaos, both for my family and for my uncle's family. So that was my Wita. She was in the picture. And then here's me and my brother. I have a younger brother. I'm the oldest of 4, but it was just me and my brother for some years. And then my parents decided they wanted to foster children, because my mom had been in and out of foster care when she was a kid. So she always wanted to do that for other people. And so we opened up our home, and it went from just being me and my brother to now we have 4 more kids in our house, and I'm sharing my bedroom with somebody else, not at my request, let's put it that way. So the picture on the right is us all a little bit older, but the youngest brother, Louis, came into our family when he was just a week old. He was maybe 7 days old or 9 days old. And the little girl there, my sister, was just 1.5 years old when she came to live with us. And then the other one is my brother. And my sister, when she came to live with us at 1.5 years, she was in a home where she was so horribly abused. She had a spiral fracture of the femur, if you know, that's the thigh bone, which means that somebody literally, let me take this off of here, that somebody literally did this to break her leg. She had cigarette burns in her skin. She had big patches of hair missing. I can remember carrying her. I didn't think I was going to get emotional about that again. It's awful to think of the things that some people will do to children. And anyway, my parents took in those 2 children, which we ended up adopting. And they also took in 2 other children. As I said, there were 4 of us. So that part of childhood was also chaotic. There was, like I said, lots of fun, lots of laughter, but there was a lot of pain, and I was really very consciously aware of that. I would say that's also one of my gifts that I didn't always consider a gift, was the fact that I feel things so deeply. Some people say, I see you, right? I see you, or I hear you. I feel you. I feel everything. And that didn't always feel like a gift to me. So, but as a, it's turned out to be one. It has turned out to be one. So anyway, I had all of that stuff going on in my childhood, and my family had lots of trauma that had been passed down. My grandfather on my dad's side was kicked out of his home when he was 11 or 12 years old and had to fend for himself. And then he finds himself as a young man, with my grandmother who had two children already, and then they had their kids together. And my grandfather ruled with an iron fist. My dad would joke that he was the Puerto Rican Taliban. I mean, like, my aunts couldn't look out the window, my dad's sisters, um, or they would get in big trouble. And I mean, like there were physical consequences when you stepped out of line. So it was kind of a brutal. As I said, there was violence along with the closeness and the laughter and the love. There was just a lot of pain as well. So pain gets passed down and it cycles, and so there was a lot of that kind of stuff as I was growing up. And I went on to work in the field of social services, actually. I'm skipping past a lot of stuff just to not belabor the points anyway, but I went to work at the state attorney's office as a victim advocate. And funny enough, I never saw myself as a victim of anything. In fact, I didn't like the word, I didn't want to relate to it. I didn't want to consider myself a victim of anything. And yet I was working with victims. I was working with people who were victims of domestic violence and child abuse and uh, batteries, and just, again, so much pain and drama. But one of the really good things that came out of that experience and that working at the state attorney's office was that I met this really handsome young deputy one day, and we started dating, and we were married actually within less than a year of meeting each other. We met in November, and we were married already the following September. So I went from that job at the state attorney's office. I went into work as a protective investigator for the Department of Children and Families. Now, these were things that I was doing. I didn't think I had an interest or that social work was my thing. It was not a conscious decision at all. In fact, when I was in school, I said I was a good student and I wanted to do what you think you're supposed to do. Like, I really wanted to be a physician. I wanted to go to med school, and thought that that was my dharma, that I would be a healer, but not the kind of healer I am now. Obviously, I thought I was going to go to med school, but funny enough, I didn't want to work really with people who were sick. I wanted to study the mind-body connection, and I wanted to write books. And I thought I needed to have MD next to my name in order for people to want to read those books or want to hear anything I had to say. So it's interesting that I always had that idea of wanting to heal, but not realizing the way that would manifest for myself. So anyway, back to Grady and I. We met, and I was actually applying to medical schools at the time that Grady and I met. And I remember I actually went for an interview in Chicago for med school there and meeting with some of the students. And I remember telling one of them, I just met this guy, and I'm wondering if maybe he's the one. I don't know. And sure enough, it turned out he was the one. And I picked love over my vocation at the time, and Grady and I got married. So then I had my kids here, and another really interesting, pivotal experience was when my children were little, and my job at the time was working for Hospice. And so I started at Hospice the week I found out I was pregnant with Jason, my oldest child. And so that was a really fascinating experience, to work with people who were dying, and to be such a young person at the same time, and to be carrying new life as I was going in and speaking to people that were at the end of their lives. But it was really very, very informative. It was very instructive part of my life. You learn a lot from people who are at the end of their days. You know, they can tell you about their regrets. They can tell you about their lessons. You know, I always say you don't have to put your hand on the stove to know it's hot, right? If somebody else has put their hand on that stove and tells you, you can just believe it. You don't really need to put your hand on it, especially when you see the damage. I mean, you can always choose to do it, but you don't have to. Anyway, I took lots of lessons from those folks that were dying as far as what was important in life, and how to arrange my priorities. So all of those things, even the job changes, because as I said, all right, I worked at the state attorney's office, and I worked for DCF, and I worked for Hospice, and I did some other things in between. And I always thought there was something wrong with me then too. Like, why can't you just get a job and hold on to it and just stay there? Like, just be happy where you are, start building up a retirement like you're supposed to do. And I wondered what was wrong, that I couldn't, just stay in one place. I would get bored, or I would be looking for a new challenge, and everybody wanted me to stay put. But all of those things, as I look back on my life, and as right, connecting the dots, going backwards, that all of that pain and all of that drama and trauma of childhood, that I thought were really, I thought they were curses at the time. I really did think they were curses that turned out to be great blessings for me, because that compassion that I gained from growing up with my grandmother, and from dealing with the challenges of the kids we had in foster care, and of the pain that they carried, and the generational pain, the cycles of abuse that I was seeing through my family. So the things I went through, the things I witnessed, really gave me a much greater compassion and understanding for people. So I can look at folks, and as I said, I can feel what they're going through, and understand how to help alleviate some of that pain. And then sometimes, the things that you think are your gifts can be challenges as well. As I said, I was a smart kid. And so I always felt all of this pressure to have to, to achieve, and to produce, and to be the example for everybody else. And sometimes your blessings can feel like they're a challenge. So it's all in how you choose to look at your life, and what you do with the challenges and the gifts that you're given. So Picasso said, I think our mission in life is to find our gifts, and our purpose is to give them away. And so there were many gifts, many gifts that have come to me out of the life experiences that I've had. And my goal is to use those for to share, and for the betterment of other people. If somebody else can take something that I have learned, a lesson that I've gleaned somehow, and avoid some of the drama and trauma for themselves, I feel like my work. I've done part of my work anyway. But I came through the other side of all of those things. I came through it, and I didn't come through it on my own. I came through it through my spiritual community. I came through it through my family. I came through it because of my friends. I came through it because of the line of work that I was doing and what I was learning, and because I actually was seeking out the information and looking for ways to live better, and to be more in my purpose. And so I appreciate and really value everybody that is part of the Center for Spiritual Living. And even if you're not, if you're on the path of spiritual development and looking to really live in your purpose, I applaud you. I applaud you. And if you're in the moment, the dark night of the soul, if you're going through any of those dramas and pains and things, I just tell you to, just keep on moving, because you're going to move through it, right? We always say we don't pitch a tent. You're not going to hang out in there. You're going to move through it. And if you're in a space where you're in pain or you're hurting, reach out, reach out to the center. We have practitioners you just met, Donna and Norma, if you didn't know them already, and know that they are always here to be that sounding board and to pray and to know the truth, to speak and to know the truth for you in what you're going through. Because we know that the truth of our spiritual being, of who we really are, is that we're already perfect, whole, and complete. Imagine, as I shared at the beginning, that that you were this disincarnate soul just kind of wandering in the universe, and you got to actually pick all of the challenges and the circumstances that you would go through so that you could be perfectly situated for the life that you came here to live. Just imagine what that would be like. And if you knew that, then you'd go through whatever you needed to go through so that you could be in that purpose. I wouldn't change anything really about my journey and my experience. Not for myself anyway. I wish for other people to not have had seen, or that people would not have to go through so much pain. But that's not mine to do, right? Again, we can take that pain and turn it into something for good purpose. So I've got a quote here from Gary Sukov. And it says, "Choice is the engine of evolution. If you choose unconsciously, you will evolve unconsciously. If you choose consciously, you will evolve consciously. The power of choice is the greatest gift you've been given, second only to the gift of life itself." You see, we're always choosing. We're always choosing. Often we choose unconsciously when we come from that victim mentality, and we think that life is happening to us and we don't have any choice. But we can evolve consciously. We can look at the things and the circumstances that we're given, and we can ask ourselves, how can I turn this into something good? How can I find meaning and purpose out of this pain? And the very question will have it show up for you. Right? What we seek, we find. So I think that's all I want to share about this today. So if you have any questions, I see I'm looking here at the comments. It's hard being an empath, but it's also a blessing. Yes, Vivian. Yes, that's the truth. So I want to invite you to have a conversation after this on Zoom if you are up for it. Richard, our tech guru, is going to put that in the chat. And and it'll be an opportunity to have an actual conversation, not just me talking. So let's see. And that's going to bring us to this part of the service where we share our gifts. So the Center for Spiritual Living Ocala exists because of the giving of folks like you, whoever is watching. We don't get to do what we do without that, like any other establishment. We've got a building, and we've got bills, and we've got all the stuff that goes into putting a broadcast together. And so we appreciate everybody who gives to the center, whether they're giving of their money, or they're giving of their time, or they're giving of their talents. We just appreciate all of it. But if Let's see, we'll go ahead and run the banner across so that you can see how you can give to the center. You can text whatever it is that you want to give to the center from your cell phone and text to the number that's scrolling below, 352-320-5110. Or you can donate to cslocala.org. Either way works fine for us. And so I will go over our affirmation, and I invite you to make these words your own. Just maybe put your hand over your chest as you say it and see yourself giving. It is the nature of life to give of itself. As it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom, it is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed and I am a blessing. I am grateful. Yes, I am grateful, and so is everyone at the center, our board of directors. We just all appreciate you all so very much. And let's see. I think that brings us to our close just about. Actually, it doesn't, because we have Divine Dining that is coming next Sunday. I believe it's at 6 o'clock in the evening. It's $15 a person. In person, you're going to have dinner, and I believe there's going to be a performance of bowls. So you'll get to check that out if you haven't seen it before. But it's just going to be a great opportunity for us to get together and to see one another in person. And of course, we will be COVID conscious. So bring masks. We'll be seating appropriately so that there's plenty of space between people, and we just look forward to seeing a few of you in person, and maybe giving some namaste, since we won't be hugging one another. So anyway, that's next week, Divine Dining. Be on the lookout on our Facebook page. And so for our closing prayer, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And I pray that you have an awesome week and look forward to connecting with you next week. Love and blessings.